So I'll note that the chair of the board has asked me to chair this meeting, and I accept that honor. And so I'd like to convene the meeting and make a note that this meeting is being held remotely as an alternative means of public access pursuant to an order issued by the Governor of Massachusetts dated March 12, 2020, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You are hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Hingham in accordance with the open meeting law. If any participant wishes to record this meeting, please notify the chair at the start of the meeting in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, so that the chair may inform all other participants of said recording. So I will note that this meeting is being recorded by the board, and I'd like to ask if anyone on the line also plans to record all or a portion of the meeting. And if so, please identify yourself now by using the raise hand function or by speaking up. I don't see anyone. So we have several items of business on the agenda tonight. And so I would just remind the public participants that if you have a question or a comment, when the board opens the discussion up to members of the public, please use the raise hand function at that time and you will be recognized. The first item on our agenda is approval of the minutes, and I believe we have only one set of minutes that we are approving this evening. That's the minutes dated June 23rd, 2020. I'm comfortable, and I believe, Mary, are you comfortable with those minutes?
I am, and I'd make a motion to approve those minutes if you'd like. I
would, but Bill, are you comfortable with the minutes?
Joe, I was not on the board on the 23rd of June, so I'm going to abstain. Okay.
So, Mary, I will accept your motion. Is there a second? I will second it. Anyone else have comments on the minutes? If not, comes to a vote. Mary.
Aye.
Bill.
Abstention.
And Joe, aye. Minutes are approved. Next item on our agenda is a vote to approve the issuance and details of the $111,180,000 general obligation water bond series 2020 to be dated and closed as of July 30th, 2020 and related matters. Tom, do you want to lead us off on this discussion?
Sure. Thank you, Joe. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So thank you very much, Joe. We have a number of people on the line that I will introduce in a moment. I just wanted to start off by letting the public know the town enjoyed a very successful bond sale last week. This was, in fact, the culmination of a lot of really great work by a lot of great people. Some of them are, like I said, on the line here tonight, and they include Town Treasurer Gene Montgomery, from Capital Markets Advisors, our financial advisor, Richard Totora, from Lock Lord, our town bond counsel, Rick Manley, and from Bogle, Diaz, Entis, and Coughlin, of course, our general counsel and all-around leader is John Coughlin, all of which are here on the line tonight. To start off this conversation and to provide the town with the information it needs related to this topic, I think I'll start by handing the mic over to Gene Montgomery.
Gene.
Thank you, Tom and Joe. So good evening, everybody. I'll just do a little brief introduction to the bond issuance and state the reason why we're here tonight. So on Wednesday, July 15th, a bond purchase agreement was entered into between the town of Hingham and UBS Financial Services Incorporated for the purchase of a $111,180,000 general obligation bond. The 30-year bonds will be dated July 30th, 2020, and are being borrowed at a true interest cost of 2.145%. The funds are being borrowed to finance the purchase of Aquarian Water Company. And I have actually provided to the Board of Selectmen a cash flow summary that really gives all the details of the costs and the structure of the bond issuance, which, we're pleased to tell you that it does align with, what you had asked us to structure. So my purpose here tonight is actually to ask the board to approve the agreement and to authorize me to go forward with the completion of the sale at the end of this month. So on that, I think we also, as Tom had mentioned, we've asked several members of our finance team, our finance partners, our experts, to be here tonight to maybe say a few words and add a little color to what otherwise is it's a big financial issue. So I think Richard Totora from Capital Markets is on the line. Is that what you had said, Tom?
Me, right? That's
Yes.
fine.
So, Jean, just before we go on, I just want to make sure that our record is clear. We are not purchasing Aquarium Water Company. We are purchasing assets from Aquarium Water Company.
Okay, thank you. This is why I have all the experts here.
Yes.
So I'm borrowing the money, and we're going to make sure that the record is straight on what we're actually going to be doing with it. Thank you,
Okay.
Joe.
Please.
Jean, would you like me to get started?
Yes, Tom, would you like? So
Yes.
yes,
Thank you,
Richard,
Richard.
you would just give a little of some information to the public and to the board. It would be great.
Very good. Thank you. And good evening, everyone. As Jean said, I'm Richard Tortora with Capital Markets Advisors. Our role in this transaction was to serve as the town's independent municipal advisor, which means we're registered with the SEC and the MSRB, but we only represent the town's interest in the financing. We've been working on this issue actually probably for between 7 and 10 years, I think, when this idea first started to percolate. Rick Manley was involved in a lot of the early meetings, and we're delighted to see it achieved the extraordinary level of success that it achieved with the pricing a week or so ago. In conjunction with this financing, we put together a request for proposals, which we circulated in the marketplace, now it's many months ago, received a rather robust response. We had maybe a half dozen firms propose to serve as our underwriter on this transaction. And we reviewed all the proposals. We recommended that UBS be selected as the underwriter for this transaction. This differs somewhat from how most issues are done in Hingham, where they're sold via competitive sale. Because of the size of this issue and the nature of the acquisition, we thought it more appropriate to bring a banker on board, which gives us additional flexibility in the marketplace, and it makes us a little bit more nimble. And I think we were well served by the selection of UBS. Excuse me. Okay. So
Musical interlude. Yes.
we went through, as I said, we selected UBS. We worked with them over the last several months to structure the issue. And then starting in early, maybe late June even, we started to talk about the pricing for these bonds. Bonds in the marketplace, municipal securities, are generally priced against an industry benchmark, which a lot of the folks on this phone have come to know about over the last several months, a service called Municipal Market Data. So every business day of the week, we get interest rate scales based on credit quality, based on what occurred in the market that day. Using that as a starting point, over a period of a few weeks, we negotiated an interest rate scale at which we were comfortable with the bankers going into the market. We know what a strong credit Hingham is. By virtue of my having the pleasure to represent the town for the last 20 plus years, I knew that the town is always very well received. One of the question marks in this transaction early on was our ability to secure an affirmation on the AAA ratings from Moody's, S&P, and Fitch. And with a lot of hard work from a lot of people on this phone, we were able to do that. So with the AAA ratings, we went into the market and we were met with overwhelming response. We were oversubscribed in virtually every maturity. In some instances, when we were looking to sell bonds with, say, $5 million in par amount maturing, we had orders for as much as $50 million. And because we had such an enthusiastic response, we went back to the underwriters and they reduced the yields on those bonds to the investors. So it made it an even more attractive financing for the town. Once the pricing finished, we ended up issuing the debt at a true interest cost of 2.14%, which is extraordinary for a 30-year bond issue. So much so, we probably were within literally a few basis points, a few 1/100ths of 1% of the all-time low for pricing a municipal bond in the market. So your timing couldn't have been better. Very successful sale. Kudos to the whole team who worked real hard to get this done. And we all look forward to the closing next week. I'm happy to address any questions if there are any. If not, I'm happy to pass it over to Rick Manley, our bond counsel.
Let's go to Rick, if that's okay. Are you there, Rick?
Rick, you're muted.
Rick, I think you're muted, yeah.
Oh, boy. For a lawyer to be muted is a real problem.
It's tough to do. It's tough to do billing that way. You know that.
Just not. Yeah, it is, and it's just very unsettling. This was an extraordinary, time, I think, for the town. I don't know. Some of you know, I'm actually from Hingham, so this was my great privilege to work on this transaction, and it had to go well because my mother was going to give me hell in a handbasket if it was a bad idea. So, but be that as it may, if we look back at this for the last, 6 or 8 years as we've been working on this, there's been a really, substantial effort on the legal side to not only, figure out what would the cost actually be and so forth, how would that be determined, and then ultimately how would the funds be raised to deal with that. So, we are the full extent of our work as bond counsel really got going when we got to prepared for town meeting last year. At that point, it was understood how much would need to be authorized. So we worked hard with the town to get that together. I attended town meeting, as probably most of you all did last year, to see if the town would approve the borrowing. Of course, it did. And then the other members of the legal team worked very hard developing the asset purchase agreement, obviously for purchase of the assets from Aquarian, as well as developing the contractual relationship with Suez, who would actually serve as operator of the system. Both of those are very important from the bond counsel point of view because we had to make sure that we, while we were involving private parties in the operation of the system, we're nevertheless issuing tax-exempt bonds. So we spent a lot of time making sure that the various agreements squared with what was required under the federal tax law, so that we could issue tax-exempt bonds and render our opinion to the marketplace that that not only were the bonds properly approved, which they are, but also that they could be tax-exempt, which they also are. And this is setting of the final terms of the bonds as actually already laid out in the bond purchase agreement that was approved the other day is really the sort of the finish line, if you will, of getting this together. We are ready to render our bond opinion as soon as the money changes hands between UBS and the city, which is to take place on the 30th of July. And it's been an absolute delight to work on this, and everything is how it is really in shape and is how it ought to be at the moment.
Thank you. I'd like to call on Mary Power. I know this has been a team effort, but I don't know of anyone else who's put in more time, more effort, more insight, more inspiration, and ultimately pushed this through than Mary. So I would turn the floor over to Selectman Mary Power.
Well, thank you, Joe, and thank you for the kind words. And I would echo what Richard and Rick have said. This really was a team effort, and it was, as we've talked about, for a very long time, we've been working on this. And I would just make a couple of points. Back in the town meeting of 2019, people may recall that we talked about the potential for savings under town ownership to be about $48 million. And at that time, we were using assumptions that the town was going to finance the water company with short-term debt for 1 year and then finance it with long-term debt for 29 years. And the rate we were using at that time was 3.75%. And I think at town meeting, even Ed Siegfried, a member of the Water Acquisition Study Committee, talked about the possibility of interest rates being better than that. We did a little bit of back of the envelope, and actually what we've determined is that at a 2.14% interest rate, the town's savings increased from $48 million to about $64 million. Or, basically what these interest rates have done is they've actually increased the savings by about $15 million. And, that's really just such good news to all of us who are going to be ratepayers and water customers from Hingham, Hull, and North Cohasset. That means that more of the money that we are paying in our water bills is going to invest and improve the infrastructure. And it also, as we've been saying for so many years, means lower and slower rate increases. So I think this is one more place where, we've been saying what we were going to do for many years. And I think that both the quality of the effort put forth by so many, along with our luck in timing the markets, I think it's just creating a great opportunity. And I would also just mention that, we've had a lot of people along the way on this, from UBS, Jean, Sue, Tom, Michelle, Rick, John Coughlin, Capital Markets. We also, knowing that this was a really big transaction, we thought it was important for the advisory committee to be engaged in this process. And our liaison on this was Dave Anderson, who, he invested the time on these Wednesday weekly calls. He was engaged in things. And I just want the taxpayers of Hingham to know that we were really very thoughtful and careful in all of this. And we're grateful for the support of the advisory committee in the work that we've done. So, this is as Marv Levy, the former coach of the Buffalo Bills, used to say, one more river to cross. And we've just crossed a big one on our way to owning this water system. So thank you.
We really don't talk about the Buffalo Bills in Hingham, if that's okay. But speaking of Bill Ramsey, do you have any comments or questions at this point?
Yeah. Again, Mary, thank you. Mary, thank you for running point on this, and the entire team you mentioned. Phenomenal job by everybody. The 2.14 rate is phenomenal, and I remember looking at this with the 375 model, and the savings to the town and to ratepayers is going to be significant because of it. And also, as Rick mentioned out, the strength of our AAA can never be understated. So a wonderful job, and Mary, thanks again for running point for the town on it.
Absolutely. Tom, did you have anything more you wanted to add, or Michelle?
No, just that what's already been said. I mean, Mary has just been such a strong leader in this entire process. The town is very lucky to have her at the helm on this effort, and as a result, we saw these truly historic rates that are just going to allow the town to save money and to reinvest in its water system to a degree to which even our best prognostications didn't meet. So. Thank you to Mary. I don't know how else to say it. She's just fantastic.
Michelle?
I'm good, Joe. Just very proud of this result. Thank you.
So, Bill, did you realize when you were running for selectman, you were also running for water commissioner?
I did. I did, yes.
Okay, so good. Are there members of the public who have comments or questions about our proposed vote to approve the issuance and the details of the 111 million plus general obligation water bonds? I see no raised hands.
Bravo. Bravo.
Yes, thank you. So Mary, do you want to do the motion? Or would you like me to handle that?
No, I will. Joe, in terms of the numbers and things, can we just reference in
Yes.
the vote list? Okay.
Yeah. So, Mary, if you've
Yes.
got the proposed vote in front of you,
Yes.
where it says the bond shall be payable on February 15th of the years and in the principal amounts and bear interest, it should say at the respective rates as shown in the attached chart. And then
Great.
you don't have to read all those numbers.
Okay.
Okay.
I will make a motion that the sale of the $111,180,000 general obligation water bonds, Series 2020 of the town, dated July 20th, 2020, the bonds, to UBS Financial Services, Inc., the underwriter, at the price of $120,291,037.72, and accrued interest is hereby approved and confirmed. The bonds shall be payable on February 15th of the years and in the principal amounts and bear interest at the respective rates as indicated in the vote list. Did I do that right, Joe?
That's fine. That's good.
The bonds maturing on February 15th, 2050 shall be subject to mandatory redemption or mature as indicated in the vote list. I further move that in connection with the marketing and sale of the bonds, the preparation and distribution of a notice of sale and preliminary official statement dated July 8th, 2020, and a final official statement dated July 15th, 2020, the official statement, each in such form as may be approved by the town treasurer, be and hereby are ratified, confirmed, approved, and adopted. Joe, just before I go on, do we need to vote these individually or in aggregate?
I believe that a vote in the aggregate is fine unless bond counsel would like them each separate.
Oh, a vote in the aggregate would be terrific.
Yes, okay, so
Okay.
we can keep going.
I further move that the bonds shall be subject to redemption at the option of the town upon such terms and conditions as are set forth in the bond purchase agreement dated July 15th, 2020, between the town and the underwriter, the agreement. I further move to confirm the provisions of the agreement, including the consent to the purchase of the bonds by the underwriter on a negotiated basis. I further move that the town treasurer and the Board of Selectmen be and hereby are authorized to execute and deliver a continuing disclosure undertaking in compliance with SEC Rule 15C2-12 in such form as may be approved by bond counsel to the town, which undertaking shall be incorporated by reference in the bonds for the benefit of the holders of the bonds from time to time. I further move that we authorize and direct the town treasurer to review and update the town's post-issuance federal tax compliant procedures and continuing disclosure procedures in order to monitor and maintain the tax exempt status of the bonds and to comply with relevant securities laws. I further move that any certificates or documents relating to the bonds, collectively the documents, may be executed in several counterparts, each of which shall be regarded as an original and all of which shall constitute one and the same document. Delivery of an executed counterpart of a signature page to a document by electronic mail in a PDF file or by other electronic transmission shall be as effective as delivery of a manually executed counterpart signature page to such document, and electronic or facsimile signatures on any of the documents shall be deemed original signatures for the purposes of the documents and all matters relating thereto having the same legal effect as the original signatures. I further move that each member of the Board of Selectmen, the town clerk, and the town treasurer be and hereby are authorized to take any and all such actions and execute and deliver such certificates, receipts, or other documents as may be determined by them or any of them to be necessary or convenient to carry into effect the provisions of the foregoing votes.
Do I hear a second to these motions?
I would second that.
Any further discussion? If not, how do we vote? Mary?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Joe? Aye. The motion has been approved unanimously. Congratulations. It's really just an incredible work for all of you, an incredible result for the town. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is to consider amendments to operations and maintenance agreement for the Ware River water system. And in this situation, the Board of Selectmen are acting as the Board of Water Commissioners. Tom, would you like to take the lead on this?
Thank you. So as we work through the operations and maintenance agreements that we need to get in place for the August 1st takeover, July 31st, August 1st takeover by the town of the operations of the water system, we are moving, and due to the complexity of in large part of the transitioning the billing activity, we are necessarily we are in a place where we need to amend the Suez agreement that we had just adopted recently in a couple of relatively minor ways, and they are a direct result of higher than anticipated
Costs associated with billing?
Yeah, thank you. Costs associated with billing as a result of Aquarian maintaining the billing function for a period of up to 6 months post-closing. So that's the general gist of it. I think John Coughlin is on the line. John could probably walk us through the 2 amendments necessary. And if you have any questions, we're here.
Sure. John?
Sure. So there are, can you hear me, Joe?
Yes.
Great. Yeah, so there are 2 amendments that are in front of the board tonight. So as everyone knows, we signed the APA, the Asset Purchase Agreement, in mid-June, and that compressed the transition down to about a 6-week window. And given the fact that we got this fabulous interest rate and that we want to complete the closing July 31st to start to get the revenue from the system, we want to move this along as quickly as we can. That requires a transition for the billing where Aquarian will continue to do the billing for a 6-month window. As a subcontractor of Suez, they will have to work cooperatively together, and then Suez will take over the billing sometime during that 6-month window. So amendment number 1 is the additional cost to pay for that transition billing, and that's in the amount of about $9,580 a month. And then the second amendment involves some overlap in cost to open up a customer service office and staff it and pay utilities and rent and equipment for a 2-month window. And again, that's an overlap while Aquarian will be continuing to do the billing, but we need Suez to get up to speed and be ready to take it over. So these are costs that are being incurred to transition the billing, but the alternative would be to delay the closing to wait for this stuff to happen, and I don't think anyone wants to do that given the finances involved. So these 2 amendments allow us to proceed to closing and also to have the billing continue in a smooth transition.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important that there's been an arrangement between Suez and Aquarian has stepped up to continue doing the billing, which clearly we need. So both of these amendments to me seem appropriate, but let me start with Mary. Do you have any comments or questions?
No, Carrie, John and Tom have, kept me apprised, as I know they have with both of you on this. And I would just mention that, one of the things the town we're looking at is the FY21 enterprise fund budget, because these additional costs would be additional costs for the water system in FY21. Given the fact that the interest rates for issuing the debt came in much lower, I would just say that the enterprise fund budget has the capacity to absorb these costs with no impact to the ratepayers.
Yep. Bill?
I don't have any specific questions. I did appreciate Tom and John keeping me apprised of it. And as Mary pointed out, there'll be no additional cost to the ratepayers, so I'm comfortable with moving forward on it.
Great. And Tom, am I correct that Suez is going to be opening up an office to deal specifically with customer service questions and issues?
Yes, that's correct. In Hingham.
In Hingham. And do we have an approximate date when that's going to happen?
It'll be 2 months before they anticipate taking it over. So if this were to go the full 6 months, this period, then it would be 4 months from August 1. But if they anticipate closing sometime prior to that, if they're able to get their everything put in place, then they would need to start that process of getting a location sooner.
Right. So I'm glad you said that, because that makes it clear that what's before us is to authorize these expenses, that $9,580 per month, for up to 6 months. But it does not have to be the full 6 months if, in fact, the transition happens sooner.
That's right.
Okay. Any questions from members of the public on this? I am not seeing any. So then I'd accept motions. Bill, are you prepared?
To do this one. Yeah, I'm ready to do this one. All right, I'd make a motion that the Board of Selectmen, acting as the Board of Water Commissioners pursuant to Article 11 of the 2019 Town of Hingham Annual Town Meeting and Chapter 139 of the Acts of 1879 as amended, and all other applicable laws, do hereby vote to authorize the chair to execute and deliver the First Amendment to agreement between the Town of Hingham and Suez Environmental Services Incorporated in substantially the form attached hereto.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? We go to a vote. Bill?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Joe? Aye. It carries. Do you have a second motion for us, Bill?
I further move that the Board of Selectmen, acting as the Board of Water Commissioners pursuant to Article 11 of the 2019 Town of Hingham Annual Town Meeting and Chapter 139 of the Acts of 1879 as amended, and all other applicable laws, do hereby vote to authorize the chair to execute and deliver the Second Amendment to agreement between the Town of Hingham and Suez Environmental Services Incorporated in substantially the form attached hereto.
Is there a second? Mary, are you there?
You may have dropped off.
We may have lost Mary. Okay, then I will second that motion. Any further discussion? Comes to a vote. Bill?
Aye.
Mary, one more chance?
Aye.
There we go. Joe, aye. The motion carries. Thank you. And I believe that is it for water-related items this evening. So with that, the next item on our agenda is a review of the application for outside table service from South Shore Sports Center, Lima Sports, request for outside table service and modification of a liquor license. Do we have representatives of the committee that has been working on this? Is Sergeant Kilroy on, or Susan Sarney?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, could you take us through this, please?
I'm sorry, I was just on zoning board listening. Can you?
Oh, we are so much more entertaining than the zoning board.
Sorry, I was trying to be two places at once.
Yes, so we are on the South Shore Sports Center request for the outside table service and modification of their liquor license.
Is the applicant on?
Yes, I believe he is.
Hi, this is Wade at South Shore Sports.
Oh, great. So would you take us through this?
Sure. So my name's Wade. I'm the Director of Sales and Ops at South Shore Sports. Frankly, we're doing everything we can to stay afloat right now safely, considering that really we can't do much of anything that we've done historically in this environment. So we're looking at every opportunity to get some revenue. With a lot of help from Emily, Sharon, Susan, and Officer Kilroy, we've developed a plan that we believe puts us in compliance with what the board is looking for. Allows for safe service of our clients, and also utilizes the space that we have here at the Sports Center safely. Officer Kilroy had a great recommendation to move this outdoor seating area out of the park.
60 at night, we'll shut it down, open the windows. But I hate sweating when I'm in bed.
Sorry, continue.
So yeah, Officer Kilroy had a great recommendation to relocate where we were proposing into a kind of unused part of our lot. It's a grass field. It's currently just used for dumpsters, but 33 feet wide, 90 feet deep. Much more safe than what we were looking at in a parking lot. We would restrict the flow of vehicles getting in there using jersey barriers, and then create a safe path using stanchion and rope to get from the service area to the main entrance of the facility, which would all be one way. That would really only be utilized by our servers. We have a plan in place for outdoor porta potties, as well as access to our indoor restrooms if absolutely necessary. But yeah, really the bottom line is that we're fortunate with the way our facility is set up, that all of our fields have dedicated one-way exits that we've been able to utilize now in this COVID environment. So there really wouldn't be any situations where we're having traffic jams or really customers of the beer garden interacting with our customers using our fields.
Could you just make a comment on how you're positioning the dumpsters so that they're not interfering with this?
Yeah, that's a great question. The dumpsters are going to be removed from that area completely and pushed into a corner of the parking lot that is not used right now.
Yeah, you don't want the smell while you're on it.
Yeah, no, I don't think.
While you're enjoying what you have to offer. So, Chief, did you have any comments or anyone else on the?
No, I actually would like to have Sergeant Kilroy, who was instrumental in working with Wade on this. I think he'd be the person that wants to speak to this.
Sergeant Kilroy, can you unmute yourself?
Okay.
Is he there?
Jeff there.
Did we lose him? Okay. No, Sergeant Kilroy was instrumental in working with Wade and making the alterations, and I think throughout the board, we've assured that all the lanes will be open to and traffic flows and the service flows. I think the board was unanimous about appointing this, and we're making sure that there's a 4-foot space for handicap access. So we felt we have everything covered, and it should be a good location.
Anyone else from the committee? Susan, do you have anything else to add?
No, I think they added everything possible, and they're in compliance with all the COVID regulations.
Yep. Bill, do you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, just briefly. So Wade, I haven't been up there to the Skybox Lounge in a while. But when I worked there many years ago. Also played basketball up there too. I don't recall any like family sit down dinner. It was more like pizza, chicken wings, things like that. Like you play after games. So I guess could you just give me a little idea of the concept of your operation here in terms of like I don't ever remember families coming in and sit down and have dinner like they would at a traditional restaurant, but more for people having a drink after a game or having some pizza. Is this more like in conjunction with your birthday party concept that you guys run up there, or is it something a little different that I'm not aware of?
That's a great question. The birthday party aspect of our business has kind of completely gone away. We don't really have any plans to try to integrate that with the outdoor table service. You're absolutely right. Our menu is definitely not gourmet by any means. We specialize in pizza. I don't even think we really do a whole lot of chicken wings anymore, but we do offer them. You'd be actually surprised the amount of families that will actually come in and order 2 or 3 pizzas and well, not anymore, but before COVID, would have big sit down dinners. They love our pizza. I'm not sure how that happened, but we've kind of become a little famous for that. So yeah, the plan would be to use our pizza, kind of our bread and butter there, and have that be the main food offering that we have on tap there.
I recall your pizza winning at Pizza Palooza a couple of years ago.
That was before my time, but yes, that did happen.
All right. Okay. Sounds good.
Mary, any comments or questions?
No, I've read through the.
I take that as no comments or questions. Any questions or comments from members of the public on this?
Carol Meyer, if no one else has one from the Hingham Anchor.
Yes, please.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I missed Wade's name, and I wondered if there were any more details. I don't have the plan in front of me. If there were umbrellas or tables, or how it's going to be set, just a little bit of that. And then also Wade's whole name, because I didn't get that.
Yeah, Wade, you may want to spell your last name.
Sure. Yeah, it's a Carol. Z as in zebra, AWATSKY.
Okay, thank you. So again, just a little more detail would be great. I think our readers would like to hear a little more if you can offer it.
Yeah, it's going to be in a nice grassy section of the field, not the field, of the lot. We actually procured some extra turf from one of our kind of one of the other clubs in the state that we cooperate with. So we're going to be putting that down and make it look nice. Just simple tables, try to do the best we can with what we've got. At this point, there's no plans for any coverings, but what my wife would be proud of me. I want to do kind of like Christmas lights all over the place on the top, make it look summery. Yeah.
So like white lights. Yep.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. Yep. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
And you may just want to say the location so that if Carol's interested in printing it and giving you some publicity.
Carol, you are my friend right now. The address here, it's 55 Recreation Park Drive in Hingham.
Oh, okay, 65?
55.
Okay. Okay, yeah, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, thank you. That's great. Thanks a lot. I will mention you. Sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
I thought Bill was about to place an order when you wanted to know about your
Sounds good.
Bill, if you stop by, there's a pizza with your name on it.
Okay. And any other comments or questions from members of the public? If not, I'm prepared to accept a motion on this.
All right. Well, I'm happy to make that motion. I'd move that the board approve the application of Lima Sports DBA South Shore Sports Center Skybox Lounge to expand outdoor table service OTS in accordance with COVID-19 order number 35. The town of Hingham COVID-19 temporary policy regarding restaurant outdoor table service, also known as the OTS policy, subject to the following conditions. A, site-specific conditions. 1, no amplified sound nor other entertainment shall be permitted in the OTS premises. 2, the applicant shall separate the OTS premises from the parking lot with Jersey barriers. The server path along the front facade of the building shall be demarcated on the ground with stanchions and rope. 3, in accordance with the ABCC guidelines for extension of premises to patio and outdoor areas, the applicant shall A, enclose the OTS premises by a fence, rope, or other means to prevent access from a public walkway. Such enclosure must be in place in a manner satisfactory to the Hingham public safety officials prior to opening of the OTS premises. And B, commit to providing management personnel dedicated to the OTS premises, as there is no clear view from the inside business to the OTS area. 4, in accordance with the OTS policy, the OTS premises shall close no later than the earlier of 10 p.m. on Sundays through Thursdays and 11 p.m. on Fridays and Saturdays, or 1 hour after the kitchen of the establishment closes for food service. 5, in order to facilitate handicapped accessibility to restroom facilities as needed, a porta potty shall be maintained by the applicant. The porta potty shall be cleaned daily and deep cleaned once per week. B, general conditions. Outdoor table service shall be permitted in compliance with the approved plan. 2, the location, size, and layout of the OTS premises as defined in the OTS policy approved herein may not be modified without further approval. Any request for modification must be made in writing. The detail as to the proposed modifications to restaurant opening at hingham-ma.gov. Addition of amenities such as tents or outdoor heating units is subject to further review and approval. Requests for such amenities shall be sent in writing to restaurant opening at hingham-ma.gov. 4. Approval holder shall be responsible for regular cleaning of trash and food in the OTS premises and shall not allow trash, food, or other nutrients to accumulate or be deposited intentionally or unintentionally in the storm drains. 5. Approval holder shall fully comply with all applicable state and local laws, regulations, and standards, including without limitation, A, Town of Hingham COVID-19 temporary policy regarding restaurant outdoor table service, B, Massachusetts COVID-19 mandatory workplace safety standards, C, Massachusetts COVID-19 safety standards and checklist restaurants, D, ABCC advisory regarding guidelines for extension of premises to patio and outdoor areas. 6, this approval may be subject to additional public safety conditions to ensure the safety of the diners, pedestrians, and vehicles. If determined by the town that an unsafe condition exists once outside table service is in operation. 7, the establishment may be subject to periodic inspection for compliance with this approval. Failure to comply with this approval may result in suspension or revocation of this approval and in fines in accordance with Massachusetts law.
Mary, are you still on the line? If not, then I will second that motion. Any further discussion? All in favor? Bill?
Aye.
Joe? Aye. And Mary, I think you're abstaining. Okay, thank you. And good luck. Wade, we're looking forward to it.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda. Oh, I'm sorry, we didn't do the second vote. Bill, you're still up. I missed it. Thank you, Tom.
I would further move that the board approve the request of Lima Sports DBA South Shore Sports Center / Skybox Lounge pursuant to COVID-19 order number 35 to temporarily alter the licensed premises under liquor license 00012-CL-0528 for the period commencing as of the effective date of this approval and expiring on November 1st, 2020 for operations in compliance with the aforesaid motion just adopted.
Second, any further discussion? Bill?
Aye.
Mary? Not here. Joe? Aye. Second vote carries. Thank you. Now we're finished with that one.
Thanks again, everybody.
Wade, give my best to the Martone family.
Will do.
Good luck, Wade.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thanks, guys.
Next on our list is review of the application for outside table service from Brewed Awakenings. This is a request for outside table service and license to use the public sidewalk.
I believe the applicant, Ms. Bellis, is on the line.
Is that Helen?
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Hello.
If you could walk us through what your plan is, please.
Well, we would like to have 2 tables, bistro tables, very small tables with 2 chairs at each table, just for basically waiting customers, since we're not having anyone indoors inside. So it's more or less just to have our customers, instead of waiting standing, to just be able to sit instead of sit on the sidewalk on the curb. It's just 2 very small tables that we have. We did a little diagram for you to see.
Yep.
And you can see that all the feet that you need in between for safety, there's plenty of room there. And if you look at it, you'll see there's no wait staff there. We're not going to be waitressing on the tables. So it's more or less just for comfort while they're waiting, our customers. That's basically it. It's simple.
It is. And what are the hours that this would be in use?
Well, we would put them out in the morning when we open, and we would take them in at night when we close.
And what are those hours?
We open at 6 a.m. and we close at 8 p.m.
Great. So it's really just 2 tables each with 2 chairs.
Exactly, very tiny little, if you look at the diagram, we have them put together, but we just didn't put them out because we wanted to do this correctly.
Yep, no, I think that's great. I see that there was a letter of support received from Nona's Homemade.
Right, Tom is very supportive, and Chrissy, yes, they think that's very nice.
This looks pretty easy. Are there members from the restaurant review committee that have any comments that we should take note of?
I haven't heard anything. It's just a very simple little,
right,
just a convenience for our customers. We've kind of covered everything that is included in our application. You've got our insurance companies, you've got the cleaning responsibilities. We have like a full view. I'm sure you've seen our business there. It's all windows. Yes. We can see from outside right there. We can see from inside out. We'll be obviously responsible for cleaning the tables and disinfecting them and ensuring that everything gets done properly.
Yes. Is Sergeant Kilroy on?
Chief Olson will speak on this one.
Oh, okay.
This was exactly as everyone has said. It was sort of an easy application. Our biggest concerns in front of the Brewed Awakenings, there is a couple handicap access points that unfortunately limited the amount of space that was available for them to expand with some additional tables. So we were able to work with them and get the 2 tables sited. And as I said, it's just basically places for people to sit down and everybody to take care of them and clean them. They're not going to have everybody wait staff out there. So it's not really a major change, but I think it's a well-added amenity to the downtown area, and it will serve well for them. Someone to sit outside and have a cup of coffee and a muffin or something like that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think that would just add a little comfort to our customers as well. It'll look pretty too. We got some really pretty tables there with some nice chairs. We didn't cut corners when it came to outdoor seating there. They're really cute. I'm sure if this gets approved, you'll be able to see that.
Cute and comfortable. I understand.
Exactly.
That's great.
Exactly. Yes.
Is Susan Sarney on the line? Did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I think they're able to see the tables from inside the establishment so they can clean them as the customers change for COVID purposes. I'm all in support of these 2 tables.
That's great.
Thank you.
And Ellen, could you just confirm to me the tables are going to be on the South Street side, correct?
You have the diagram there. I'm sorry, what did she say? I didn't hear her.
No, I said, are the tables going to be on the South Street side of the building or on the Main Street?
No, it's going to be where there's the most room on that corner there, where it's a large area there, and the tables are going to be pushed against the building. There's a diagram right there. Mary,
I don't have it in front of me. Could you just tell me it's going to be at the intersection, or it's going to be? I mean, the way the Brewed Awakenings faces, you have the door faces Main Street, but then the window faces South Street.
It's that where there's the most room, and they're pushed against the.
Chief,
it's the South Street.
Yeah, Bill, it's sort of located right at the right between the 2 streets.
Exactly. It's hard for you to say that.
Follow up the walk.
Thank you.
Because the building actually has sort of a concave to it or something, whatever you would call it. So they're lined up right there. So they're actually sort of connect the 2 streets. So I can't say they're either on South Street or Main Street. They're just right in the middle there.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I couldn't quite get that.
Yep. Anyone else have any comments or questions?
Joe, I just wanted to note that this, if the board approves it, won't become effective until we receive a signed license agreement back from the applicant, along with the certificate of insurance that names the town as additional insured.
And that's because of the sidewalk issue.
Correct.
And the prior vote that we took, by the way, for South Shore Sports Center, when does that become effective?
As soon as the completed application is filed with the town clerk, which we can take care of first thing in the morning.
Great.
That piece will also apply to this application as well.
Yes. Any other comments or questions from anyone else on the line? So if not, Bill, do you want me to relieve you on this one?
That would be fantastic, Joe. I'm ready to go.
Okay.
But
Okay, so
I was ready to read it again right here, but go ahead.
So I will accept the motion that the board approve the application of Hingham Brewed Awakenings, Inc. to expand outdoor table service, OTS, in accordance with COVID-19 Order Number 35 and the Town of Hingham COVID-19 Temporary Policy regarding restaurant outdoor table service. The OTS policy is subject to the following conditions. A, site-specific conditions. 1, this approval is subject to the applicant's execution and delivery of a license for use of the public sidewalk in a form required by the Town of Hingham, the license, and its continued compliance therewith. A failure to comply with the license shall be deemed to be a failure to comply with this approval. 2, the applicant shall remove the tables and chairs from the OTS area when the business closes each evening. 3, the proposed planters shall be located in a manner that maintains a minimum 4-foot wide pedestrian path on the sidewalk and shall not obstruct the handicap ramps at the intersection of Main and South Streets. 4, the OTS area shall be used exclusively for customers of the applicant. The applicant shall designate the OTS area by placement of business placards on the tables. B, general conditions. So we incorporate by reference the general conditions that were outlined in the prior motion. Is there such a motion, Bill? I just said I would accept it.
I would, motion made and seconded.
No, you moving it, then I second it. Mary, you're not on? So then any further comments or questions? If not, we come to a vote. Bill?
Aye.
Joe? Aye. And Mary is absent. I would now accept a further motion that the board approve the request of Hingham Brewed Awakenings, Inc. to temporarily alter the licensed premises under Common Victular License HING 002 for the period commencing as of the effective date of this approval and expiring on November 1, 2020, for operations in compliance with the aforesaid motion just adopted. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it. Any further discussion? All in favor? Bill?
Aye.
Joe? Aye. Mary? Not here. I will now accept another motion that the town enter into a license with Hingham Brewed Awakenings, Inc. for use of a portion of the public sidewalk within the right-of-way of Main Street in connection with outside table service pursuant to COVID-19 Order Number 35 for a term expiring on November 1, 2020, or earlier termination of such outside table service, subject to such conditions as are set forth in the license draft dated July 20, 2020. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it. Any further discussion? All in favor? Bill?
Aye.
Joe? Aye. Mary is not on. Okay. Congratulations
Congrats.
for Brewed Awakenings.
Yay!
Yes,
Thank
we really
you.
appreciate that.
Good
Thank
luck.
you.
Hopefully it helps.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Thanks. Come
Looking
join
forward
us.
to it.
Come and have a seat sometime.
Absolutely. Next item we have on our agenda is a discussion of the fiscal year 21 goals and objectives. I'm wondering before we get there, whether we should continue to do the other votes that we need to take. One to appoint a special police officer and the other for the special one-day license. Tom, do you have any objection to that?
No, I think that's a respectful thing to do. Just this will take 2 seconds, and
Yes.
this next conversation could take a while.
So next item we have, I'd like to take up is the appointment of George Kelley as a special police officer for the town of Hingham. And I believe we have the chief online who can walk us through this?
Yes, good evening. I'd like to just thank you to the board. This is Officer George Kelley started with the department in 1987, and he's been with the department for 32 years. He retired last week. George has always been a very reliable officer, one of those officers that a chief enjoys because he doesn't have to really keep an eye on him. He goes out every day and does his job. He also had a lot of respect of the younger officers. We're glad that George is going to stay on with us and continue to work as a special police officer for us and assist us during times when we need him during different events. So I would gladly recommend your appointment of Officer George Kelley.
Chief, what would be the nature of his responsibilities as a special police officer?
The advantage of having someone like with 32 years of experience really helps us in times when we're having large-scale events, because he understands the concept of command, and we can put him in those types of positions to assist the group, because we can't always fill all the vacancies. He'll also be able to assist us with various events that are going on or details throughout the town that we can't fill. And we've had very good luck with officers that retire and stay on to help us. We really appreciate that. It helps expand our role within the community.
Thank you. Bill, do you have any comments or questions?
I want to congratulate George on his retirement. He retired last week, I saw, and I've known George for many, many years. Just a wonderful guy, wonderful family, and 32 years of service is quite impressive. So happy to make a motion when you're ready, Jeff.
Okay. Anyone else online have any comments or questions? No, and it's really he's really doing the town a service by getting this appointment. So it's much appreciated. Bill, I'm ready to accept your motion.
I would make a motion to appoint George Kelley as a special police officer for the town of Hingham for a term ending April 30th, 2021.
I second that. Mary, I don't believe, has come back on. Any further discussion? All in favor? Bill?
Aye.
Joe? Aye. It carries. Terrific. And again, thank you, George. The next item I'd like to take up is to consider the issuance of a special one-day license to Michael Snowdell on behalf of Stellwagen Beer Company for 3 family farm dinners at Ware River Farm. Is Michael on the line?
No, we generally don't ask them to join the meeting.
Okay. Tom, do you want to?
If you don't mind, I'm going to have Michelle.
Okay, great.
Sure. So this is for 3 separate one-day liquor licenses for, they're going to be family-friendly outdoor picnics at Weir River Farm that they would like to host. The first one is this Thursday. The second one, and the second 2 are in August. They're going to have a local food truck there, and they're spacing out the families who choose to come with social distancing guidelines in place. So that is the request before the board.
And so the 3 dates are July 23rd, August 6th, and August 20. Is that correct?
Correct, from 5 to 9 p.m.
Okay. And I just don't know from a procedural standpoint, do we need to issue 3 one-day licenses, or can one license cover all 3 dates?
It should be 3 one-day licenses. So in the vote, you can say to approve the issuance of 3 special one-day licenses. But yes, there'll be 1 license for each day.
Okay. Bill, any questions?
No questions.
I don't see any issues. Is there, Chief, did you have any concerns about that?
I would just add that these are actually events that have been happening on a yearly basis. We've never had any issues. They're well-run operations, and I think they definitely are family-orientated.
Yes.
Susani and I have been working Susan Signing and I have been working very closely with them to make sure that they're compliant with all the COVIDs and have the proper bathrooms and distancing. That families will be spaced 20 feet apart, and they'll group on blankets of up to 6 people in one group.
Yep.
So we're very happy with the plan,
Yep.
and I think it should be a good evening.
Yeah, I've reviewed it, and it looks complete and it looks good. Any members of the public have comments or questions? I am not seeing any hands raised. So at this point, I would accept a motion to approve the issuance of 3 one-day special licenses to Michael Snowdell on behalf of Stellwagen Beer Company for 3 family farm dinners at Ware River Farm on Thursday, July 23rd, August 6th, and August 20, 2020, from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m., subject to the following conditions. 1, masks should be worn at all times by staff. 2, guests should wear masks at all times except when seated in your group while eating or drinking. 3, provide hand sanitizer to public and staff. And 4, post signs on social distancing and wearing masks. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it. Any further discussion? I hear none. All those in favor? Bill?
Aye.
Joe? Aye. Mary is not on. It carries. So that's great. Thank you. So I would then return to the next item on the agenda, which is discussion of our fiscal year 21 goals and objectives. And this is really a second in a series of discussions that the Board of Selectmen will be having. This is not an item that we're taking up for a vote. It's really making sure that we're addressing issues and that our priorities are set out. So quite frankly, a year from now, we can look back and say, did we accomplish what we had set out to do? Have we met and achieved our priorities? Tom, did you want to review anything, or do you want me to go over this? What's the easiest way?
No, just a general statement. Every year the Board of Selectmen, generally after the election, will get together and identify the goals and objectives and the things that that particular board would like to take up during that coming year. So this is that discussion.
So I'm going to read what we've identified, we being the selectmen have identified thus far. And this is not intended to be an exhaustive list, but it's really intended to set out where we have had the discussion up till now and open the door for further discussion of these and other issues. So the goals and objectives, I'll just read them first, and not necessarily in order of priority, but first, to ensure effective town government and financial stewardship throughout this period of the COVID-19 pandemic, including helping schools, the senior center, and businesses adjust to the new norms that govern our conduct. Next, address issues of racial equality and justice in our community, including working with the police department to ensure appropriate sensitivity to racial and cultural issues. Next, enhanced coordination between the town administration and the schools to ensure proper allocation of resources. Next, ensure a smooth transition between private ownership and municipal ownership of the water company assets. Next, continue our growth in affordable housing. Next, and this one I added as a personal one, I want to make sure it's addressed, add more bike paths in Hingham for the use and enjoyment of youth and adults. Next, advance the public safety facility and senior center renovation projects. Next, pursue revenue opportunities, including opportunities in South Hingham. And then the last one I've got on my list is to promote environmental stewardship in the town. Bill, did you want to comment, add to, subtract from?
I think that's great. Joe, I was going through the list that we talked about last time. And I just add explore initiatives to support sustainability and to combat climate change within our community. But other than that, I think you touched on all of the big themes that we discussed briefly a couple weeks ago. And actually, I do have one other one too. And the second one was, in addition to the ones you've listed in the sustainability combat change, climate change combat, would be to provide assistance to the school department as it works through its fall 2020 reopening plan.
I heard you're going to volunteer as a teacher there. Is that right?
Yeah, I would help out any way I can. I can take kids to the school system.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you raised that, because that is, a huge issue for the town, for families, for the students, and it's not just an issue for the school committee. It's an issue for the town at large, because the town really runs best when the schools are operating. So I'm really glad you raised that. And I mean, these are the types of issues that when we look at committees and when we look at budget issues, we take these goals into account. So Michelle or Bill, did you want to add any additional guidance on these topics?
I'm all set, thank you.
Tom?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you, Joe.
I mean, the two of you are actually going to have to do all the work. Bill and I are just going to be talking about it.
We'll just vote on it.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Are there members of the public who have comments or questions on this topic? Use your raised hand button. Oh, I see someone's hands raised, but you didn't.
Oh, that's me.
That's okay. Laura, you're muted, so you got to, there we go.
Good evening. Thank you to the board for taking time to hear me. We have a number of members of Hingham Net Zero here tonight, and I was glad to hear combating climate change appear on the list of goals. But I would suggest that you could actually probably be considerably more complete than that, since we already had considerable discussion about this over the course of the last year, up until February anyway, when we were overtaken by matters of great import. In February, the plan was that the Selectmen's office was going to establish a task force on climate change, the goal of which is to help Hingham develop a plan to cut our carbon emissions as quickly as possible. And so I wonder if we couldn't just get more specific and go right back to that goal and do it.
So anything that Laura says, I take with extra importance. She was a former selectman, has a lot of experience in the way town government works, and I appreciate your comments. And I've talked to Tom about, next steps in terms of forming a task force and making sure that we move this forward. So I will take that as an addition to or as an amendment of the goals that I've outlined so far.
Joe, if you don't mind, I could jump in. Just let everyone know, Brad Moyer of the Energy Action Committee and I are meeting tomorrow morning. We have a phone call scheduled tomorrow to walk through the next steps in terms of forming that task force. I have talked to Mary Savage Dunham, our erstwhile town planner, and she has agreed to help guide that group along, which is, I think, appropriate. So Brad and I will be discussing that and other things tomorrow morning.
So Tom, how do members of the public who want to serve on that task force let it be known so that we make sure that appropriate members are included?
Sure, they can send me. Well, I strongly recommend that if you send me an email, CC Michelle Monsegur, but send me an email and let me know of your interest. I think in order to make this a functional task force that will be able to accomplish the goals that we set forth, Brad and I, it's needs to be a manageable group. I would expect about 5 people maybe to be tapped to include, that would include Mary Savage Dunham. So a few additional knowledgeable people with time to spare and offer to the town to help us get to where we need to get to would be helpful.
But it sounds like there were some, discussions up until February. I just want to make sure that we're not regressing, but that we're moving forward from that position. Is that fair?
I believe we are. Brad and I had talked back then about this process. I believe Brad has discussed it with the Energy Action Committee folks. All along, I think our intent was that that group would be represented on the task force. Perhaps even folks that had been discussed, though I haven't spoken with a member of this group yet, but the Cleaner, Greener Hingham folks may want to be represented on this kind of a task force. So, yeah.
And are there funding? Is there funding, like state funding, available for this kind of activity?
Yeah, it's a good question. We tried for a grant application through the Metropolitan Area Planning Council to help us develop a climate action plan, and it did not, we were not awarded that contract. We have asked the Metropolitan Area Planning Council to give us a quote for how much it would cost for them to help us with that effort outside of a grant. And they are working those numbers up, and hopefully we'll be providing them soon. They were asked that several weeks ago, and they have been re-asked it again as recently as today.
Do we know why we didn't get the grant, or is there something that we can learn because maybe we can apply again next year?
No, the woman who contacted the town, I believe, may have spoken with Mary Savage Dunham. I didn't ask Mary if she was given a reason. I can follow up with her. Okay,
and my uneducated assumption here is that that's not the only grant we can be applying for. So I want to make sure that it's on our radar so that to the extent we can get funding, that we do.
Yeah, there is potential for funding through MAPC in other ways that Mary Savage Dunham is looking into to perhaps couple this with a larger effort that we're doing in town and allow us to get a climate action plan developed as a component to a larger project by kind of earmarking it through another process. But Mary will be working on that over the coming days.
And on a tangential subject, the town has been going through a fairly extensive master plan process. Is this one of the elements that they are looking at? And is there a way that we can make sure that we coordinate with the outreach that's already happened within the town?
Yeah, it's been front and center in that process. I know in every conversation they've had, sustainability has been a front and center topic with regards to the discussions that have been had regarding the master planning process.
Yep. Yes, I see. Is that Katie? Yes, you're muted.
Hi. Yep. Now I'm not.
Okay, great.
Nice to meet you. I know we've been having some emails back and forth to set up a time to talk. I just want to thank you. I'm here with a few people from the Hingham Unity Council, and we're pleased to know that racial equity is one of your top priorities. That's awesome. And I just want to say we're here to work with you in whatever way we can. I'm wondering if you have any specific ideas in mind yet. I know it's early, so you may not, but just curious about that and wanted to say thank you for making that a priority, because we certainly are.
Yes, and I do owe you a call. So I will get back to you on that. In terms of specifics, I've had some discussions with the chief, and it's something that we need to develop. So at this point, I'm not sure the specifics are in order, but it's clearly an important item for us.
Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else? This is really interesting because no one's using oh, there they are. I'm just seeing people's hands waved as opposed to the raise hand function, but this is great. So Brenda.
Hi, just wanted to see if you could tell us, as the master planning process is proceeding, what's the definition of sustainability? and Tom, as the Climate Action Task Force, again, what's the definition of the goal of that task force? Because there's an awful lot of work to do from what I know, and 5 people is not a lot to get a lot of work done in a expeditious way. So wondering about that.
So do you know the definition, Tom?
I don't. Bill, I don't know if you've ever heard that back when you were on the planning board. Have you ever heard anyone try to define that?
I think I saw an email from Mary defining the term. I don't have it up right now, but maybe if we can find Brenda, we can forward it to you.
Sure. And as far as the definition of what the task or the goals of the task force, I'm hoping that will be a result of my conversation with Brad tomorrow morning. And I see Brad there now, so I think that's the kind of thing Brad and I are going to be hashing out tomorrow. And I know he's already taken a stab at a 3-page document in an attempt to help define that process. So I think we're pretty well along the way on that. But Brad and I just have to touch base, and that'll be tomorrow.
Well, let me just follow up. Have any members of either Net Zero or other groups submitted their suggestions or comments to the master plan group?
Several of us were there for some of the sessions.
Yeah.
And
we've been part of the discussion, yeah.
Okay. Because I know that, on the town website, there's a specific place to submit questions or comments to the master plan committee. I just want to make sure that to the extent you had anything in writing that you wanted to make sure was considered by that committee, that it's there, that we're not calling them up and I don't want to hear that, there was a report that they just never saw. So it's still open. So it'd be great to the extent that you have something in writing that it is submitted to the master plan committee.
I believe, Joe, that there were suggestions made during some of the visiting sessions that were held. That are being worked in the plan.
There was also a warrant article that was written that was originally slated to be presented to the town meeting, and the select people sort of rejected it as something that could not happen this year. But that was a very simple and straightforward statement of what we had in mind as the Energy Action Committee. This is Ben Kerwin, 33 Grove, member of the Energy Action Committee, and also of Hingham Net Zero. And just if I've got the floor for 15 more seconds, I would just say that recognizing Joe's list of priorities was not in rank order, but there are a large group of us who would put our response to climate change and to the environment as the overarching biggest thing all of us are facing, and would really make a plea for taking it extremely seriously, for funding the task force by any means necessary, and making sure that it gets to the town meeting in 2021, and that it has teeth and it has actual action attached to it, and not just a lot of talk. So that would be my personal plea, speaking for myself as a member of the Energy Action Committee and for Hingham Net Zero.
Let me just ask you, and others can certainly respond. Has the COVID-19 pandemic affected either timing or priorities for you in terms of how this should be addressed and the course of time for it?
Well, I would say for Hingham Net Zero, we've been meeting fast and furious and are working very hard on the sort of grassroots and citizen level. I would say it's had a tangential effect on us. We've held virtual forums. Laura Burns and Brenda Black are amongst our leaders, and there are many others in our group here tonight. So it hasn't stopped us from working hard on it. And, the town's response in light of COVID-19, I think that's something that has to be worked out. We realize that Tom and all of you associated with the town are, under a great deal of pressure as a result of that. But nevertheless, COVID-19 will be gone in a few years, and climate change is going to be with us for the duration of all of our lives, and our kids and our grandkids. And as I say, most of us believe we need to get very serious about it, and we need to get serious about it now.
Yep.
This is
One
Brad
second.
Moore.
If you can just wait 1 second, I'm going to.
Sure.
So, if you could take down, Ben, your raised hand, I'm just going to go through the list of who else is there. I've got Andrew Turner. Is he here?
Yeah, hi,
The
folks.
hand raised.
Thanks, Joe, for taking the time. I just wanted to chime in as well as saying that I am here with the Hingham Unity Council and was similarly thrilled to hear that the second priority was race, racism, racial and social justice. I was not aware of the deep effort of Hingham Net Zero, but I think it being much further down the list is not right either. So we don't have to argue who should be 1, 2, but they're both sort of existential problems. So thank you all for being here as well. I had a follow-up question, maybe to bring on, build on what Katie was talking about, is you talked about law enforcement very briefly in terms of some of the goals. What other large parts of the community are you assessing in addition to law enforcement? Doesn't seem like it should just be confined to the police.
In terms of the racial justice issues? I'm not sure I understand what you're asking.
Sorry, I'm having trouble unmuting. Yeah, exactly. If you started to enumerate a series of goals for systematically addressing racism and being anti-racist, it would go well beyond the police.
Yes.
So I'm curious about what other sort of parts of the community you're thinking about assessing in addition to law enforcement.
They're very. I mean, the police have the most immediate interaction. I think schools are clearly something that we need to be talking about, it really goes through various aspects of the town. It's you know, you go to committee of whatever, and to make sure that we're sensitive and that we're responding appropriately to community concerns and to citizens' concerns, because racism has the potential to taint everything. And that sensitivity and making sure that we address it is the priority.
Okay, great. I think I'll welcome additional specifics and goals in a more comprehensive plan as we get into it, and would certainly be happy to participate in that process. So thanks for taking my question.
Great, thank you. Okay, next on my list is John Borger. Did I pronounce your last name?
Oh, you're muted.
You're muted. There we go.
Thank you. Yeah, Borger, soft J. I live in Hingham at 53 Lafayette Avenue. As Ben and Laura had indicated, this is ancient history, but we'd actually developed a warrant article that was planned to go before the town meeting. And that was pulled because apparently there was some consensus among the selectmen that it was not appropriately socialized and they were pessimistic about it passing. So it's a little disconcerting. And so the solution that was put forward in lieu of a town meeting article was this task force.
Right.
And it's a little disconcerting to hear now a fiscal year 21 goal stated so vaguely. And so while I've been sitting here listening, I just took the liberty of drafting a more specific goal. And I would offer that because I think that the more specific our goals are, the more we hold ourselves accountable for actually getting something done. So I would suggest that one of the goals would be initiate, finalize membership of, and begin the activities of a task force on climate change, including application for funding, pursuant to submission of a warrant article to the 2021 town meeting for town funding of development of a climate action plan for Hingham. That's pretty wordy, but you get kind of the level of detail and specificity of goal that I'm shooting for. And because I think I'm new to town government, and it seems I get vertigo when I see how quickly time passes, and all of a sudden you're into another town meeting for, we'll be at it 2025 before we actually have an application for funding. And it's been so eloquently said, you guys we know you're out straight with COVID and the acquisition and the making operational the Aquarian Water Company. Those are great things that you're doing, and we understand the demands on your time, but we have to multitask. You've got a bunch of really passionately committed people in Hingham who really want to help push this forward. We want to help Tom. We want to help this task force. But so let's all kind of commit to doing this and at least getting this task force started and receiving an initial report this year and preparing ourselves to go before the town meeting with something that has some credibility, that's been fully vetted, so that, because we all know that, volunteer efforts are great, but something as big as a climate action change to get to net zero by 2050, which is sort of the world goal, is going to require a lot of work, and it's going to require dedicated staff. So I'll shut up and ask you to consider that.
Yeah, I mean, I really appreciate the specifics, because you're right. I mean, just to have something summary doesn't give us something to measure our success. So right. I think you're exactly right. And so I'll make sure that I get together with Tom and Michelle, and actually not just me, that the selectmen specifically address, and we make sure that this task force gets moving.
Okay, great.
Yes, I appreciate that.
So in terms of the official goals and objectives for fiscal year 2021, you're saying that you will ensure that a goal of adequate specificity addressing the development of a climate action plan will be inserted in those goals.
Yes, it'll be in the goals. Again, we're not voting on the goals tonight.
Yeah,
we're just the purpose is to have this discussion and then to figure out what it should be.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Bill, did you want to?
Yeah, I was saying, we're going to get more specific as we move along, John, but I like your recommendation quite a bit.
Yes. And Michelle, did you capture that, or his language? Did you want to email?
So the minutes will be taken off of the recording, Joe.
Okay, great.
Beautiful.
Next, I have Laurie Freeman.
Hi, yes, Laurie Freeman, 269 High Street. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having this on your agenda and expressing real interest in moving forward. I just wanted to reiterate, you do have a significant group of committed citizens in Hingham Net Zero. You have a resource you can draw from. We want to be able to be helpful and help this along and do everything we can. So hoping you're taking comfort from that. In addition, I wanted to just say a lot of towns have moved far ahead already on this, and we don't need to reinvent the wheel. So if it seems so overwhelming, it's actually been done in many towns already. There's also all sorts of roadmaps that we just have a lot that is already done for us. And we reiterate other people that have spoken, saying that it really is an urgent thing. COVID is kind of like that canary in the coal mine in terms of ignoring science. Look what happens, and all of a sudden it's on top of you, and it's a million COVIDs. So we do want to be helping you even as you're grappling with all these other challenges. So in particular, I think that the task force that you're creating, they could be this year conducting education outreach to net zero stakeholders and in climate and neighborhood groups, the other municipal entities and businesses. And then in addition, we want to do a greenhouse gas inventory so that we
just lost your video, by the way.
Oh, I think I'm getting a FaceTime call from anyway, if you can hear me, I'll just wrap up real quick. But also a greenhouse gas inventory. I don't know if we've had one done, but I'm sure it would be dated at this point. We need to know what it is our targets are, and then we can adopt net zero goals. So I would hope by next year, we would have all that work done, and we would have the goals, and we would be requesting funding to start pursue and working on those. And again, I just want to say, I don't mean to be asking. We're offering here to help out. Thank you.
Well, you're actually contributing, so I appreciate it. Yes, thank you. Libby, where are you?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Oh, there we go. Yes.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. That's a wonderful, fairly comprehensive list of priorities. I'm happy to see it, and I'd like to add a couple of specifics to the bringing equality and creating a welcoming Hingham for all. A couple suggestions would be to change the name of Selectmen to Select Board. I think that's a fairly easy one, actually. And then secondly, to make sure that you follow up with creating a policy that will allow Hingham to fly the Pride flag in June. So those two items. And then the third one, I was happy to hear that you want to prioritize the enhancement of coordination with the schools regarding allocation of resources. I mean, we expect the schools to meet not only the academic needs of the students, but the health, safety, and social emotional needs. And we've taken a tremendous hit from COVID-19 this year, and they're going to suffer more next year. We can't allow the schools to be underfunded any longer. Town can't wait, that the schools can't wait for creative ways to raise revenue. We can't wait for the markets to be up for so many years in a row. We can't expect the revenue opportunities in South Hingham to raise enough for the schools. And so I would like to propose that the most expeditious way to raise enough funds to fully fund the schools and other things in town as well is to have an override. And I ask that the select board and the advisory committee and the school committee lead on studying this issue, and that the community be prepared to actively engage in conversation about voting for an override at town meeting in April 2021 on behalf of all of the students in our town. The negative consequences of not doing so are severely compounding in magnitude and are unacceptable. And I would really, really appreciate the movement on this issue of fully funding the Hingham Public Schools this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Brad?
Hi, Joe. Thank you. Brad Moore, 23 Colonial Road, Chair of the Energy Action Committee, but of course, speaking in my personal capacity. I won't belabor all the good things everyone said. I just wanted to respond to a couple points quickly. One is regarding the goals for the task force. For nuances with which Tom is well-versed, it's important that the goal doesn't establish the task force as a selectman committee, but rather to support the efforts of town administration in conducting its activities in developing a plan for addressing climate action in the town. The nuances relate to open meeting laws and a couple of other things, so we just want to be careful how that's worded.
So just so I'm clear, is your suggestion, is that take it within or without the open meeting law? Are you suggesting that these meetings be subject to the open meeting law or not?
No, they would not be. And part of the reason for that, and this gets to the task force membership, of course, we'll want a core group of members, but this is a large endeavor that's going to have to pull in a lot of members of the community, but they don't all have to be there at the same time for the full duration of the task force's activities. So it's a little bit plug and play. We bring in expertise as it's needed to address a question or do outreach to other groups. So there's some fluidity that we want and need there. And by conducting it under town administration expressly, we have that capability, as opposed to if the Energy Action Committee constituted it or if the Selectmen constituted it, you lose some of that. So that's why we're conducting it under town administration. So that's point one. Another question was about money. So why were we denied funding? Again, Mary will get the details, but frankly, there's a lot of competition for these grants and the state's budget is being constrained as a result of COVID. So it was tougher. It was actually kind of a surprise to us, surprise to MAPC that the grant didn't come through. That doesn't mean that there won't be future opportunities. And frankly, the dollars were pretty small to start with. Some things we can do to increase the possibility of getting grants is the state and MAPC are very big on multi-community projects. So if there's an opportunity for outreach with other towns to do joint activities, and that's something the task force would look at, there may be a better way to try to get some money in that case. Other thing to think about with finance is that there's multiple stages to this. There's finance just to get a preliminary plan together. And that the dollars I don't think need to be huge, but we definitely need support there. And then there's, okay, now we've got a plan, we're taking it to town meeting, and we're going to ask for some real money and a longer term commitment to it. And that's where the bigger dollars will come in. And then the last thing I'll say, Joe, you asked, has COVID impacted the time frame at all? The Hingham Net Zero folks have been doing a lot of great work. You heard about that. I guess the only thing I would say for the task force is when we went the task force route, the hopes would we could get up running earlier rather than waiting for a town warrant article to pass in April. And then, of course, that was passed to June, and now here we are in July. So certainly, and for understandable reasons, I think getting going on this has been slowed down as a result of COVID and the impacts. But as Tom mentioned at the outset, he and I are scheduled to talk tomorrow. Looking forward to it, and we'll, I'm sure, come out with some very detailed things on how to move the ball forward.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
I see no other hands raised, but that won't preclude anyone else who has a comment or question.
Joe, if I could just add something real quick.
Please.
Yeah, I want to appreciate everybody for coming on the call tonight. This has been very helpful. Appreciate the Hingham Net Zero folks and other folks on the call. And I think all of the suggestions we've heard are very good.
Yeah, and the fact that there really is a body of folks available to really want to work on this is what's going to happen. That's going to push it to the next step. So yeah, I feel absolutely. So thank you all for being here. Anyone else? Okay. Then the next item I've got is the COVID-19 update. Tom?
Yes. Sorry, thank you. So the COVID-19 update for today starts as this. Massachusetts does remain in phase 3, step 1 at this time. As of today, the Department of Public Health is reporting 114,033 probable and confirmed cases in Massachusetts, of which 8,903 are in Plymouth County. As of last Wednesday, the DPH, which is the last day that there's a formal report, the DPH was reporting 281 COVID-19 cases in the town of Hingham, which means no new cases were reported in town from the previous week. We appreciate everyone continuing to take social distancing and face covering guidelines very seriously, and we need to continue to keep up the good work, certainly in Massachusetts. Thank you.
Michelle.
Nothing further from me tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Next, or I'm sorry, are there any public comments with respect to the COVID-19 update? Okay, hearing none, I'll move on to public comments on items that are not on the agenda. Are there any items that are not on the agenda that folks would like to address? Hearing none, next item is appointments, and I don't believe we have any appointments other than the appointment we already made for George Kelley as a special police officer.
That's right.
Final item, Selectmen and Town Administrator reports. Tom, anything further?
Not tonight. Thank you, Joe.
Michelle?
Nothing. Thank you.
Bill?
Just one quick point. It's getting hot out, folks, and I hope everybody. We had temperatures in the 90s a couple days in a row now, so I'd ask everybody to kind of look out for each other, look in on your neighbors, make sure everybody's doing okay and staying cool. That's all I have.
Yes, thank you. It has been hot. I think it's going to be, the weather's going to let up a little bit, but it's dangerous times for some folks in town. So you're right, we need to be vigilant. Thank you for pointing that out. I've got nothing else here. Bill, anything further?
Joe, thank you for chairing tonight. You did a great job. Thank you for stepping up.
Thank you. Then as my final act, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Bill?
Aye.
Joe? Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you all.